What's up guys? I'm going to show you a few ways to desolder electronics, so let's go. So first off, I've just got some junk electronics I've got lying around the house which I'm happy to pull apart, and we're going to desolder some parts off of this and throw everything into one of these little containers. Alright, now that I've disassembled this radio unit, it gives me something to work with when I'm desoldering stuff. So if you want to see that video, I'll just put it up in the top corner or something like that. What I'm going to do is show you some different ways of desoldering this electronics. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is just get out a wood board like this one, because you don't want to be trying to desolder stuff on your bench. You'll start to burn things. What I'm going to try and do is take one of these switches out. A really crude way of doing this, crude or basic way of doing this, is just by using your soldering iron and put it directly on the actual solder and let it melt. And you can do that across both, and you can kind of wiggle it underneath and you can slowly pull it out. Or you can use some pliers. You have to be careful because underneath there's actually the metal leg that actually goes from the back into the actual switch. So if your finger's on it, it may heat up and burn your fingers. So it's sometimes easier just to have some pliers, hold it on there. You can apply some pressure on the board, warm up both of those, and eventually it comes out. It does come out, but as you can see, it's a little bent on the legs, so not the best way of doing it. It's really rough, but if you don't have any of these other tools, then that may be the best way for you to do it. And you can see on the board as well, the board's left some scratches and a bit of solder all over the place, so it's not the cleanest way of doing it either. A second method is going to be using the desoldering wire. Now this one here is just a 3mm width and 1.5 meters. You can get this stuff really cheap from electronic stores or just off eBay. And basically how it works is you place the actual wire, which is made up of copper. You place it down onto the actual solder, and you can heat it up. And as it gets hot enough, it'll actually soak up into the solder wire. Now it does soak it up into that. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that because I find it takes a lot of time. It's a bit fiddly. It still leaves a bit on there sometimes, and I'm just not the best at doing it, so I don't really like using that much. So what I'm going to show you next is this solder sucking tool. Now basically how this works is there's a spring inside. You push the black plunger down and then you push the button, which when that shoots up, it actually creates suction. It sucks the solder up into the tube and away off the actual electronics. So you heat it up first with your soldering iron, and then you would suck this up. So let's give it a try. So I can see it sucking some of it up. And as you can tell, every time you have to push down the plunger and push the button. So it gets a little bit fiddly, but it actually works quite a lot better than what the soldering wire or desoldering wire does. So I did get that one out using the solder sucker there. Now the trick to it, which I learned after a few tries, is actually getting it really closely over the top of the actual solder. If you're a bit far away, it's a bit harder to suck it up, so make sure you actually get as much over the top of it as possible. If I open this up, you can see there's that plunger and the spring. Now in there you can shake that out. At the moment I can see little bits of solder in there. Over time that would build up, so you would need to make sure to open that up and clean it out. The last one I'm going to show you is this one here, which is all-in-one setup of the soldering iron itself and one of the plungers. Now how it works, there's a soldering iron built into this tip, which then has a button that would set a solenoid inside to actually suck that in, similar to how the plunger works, but instead of actually clicking it down each time, all we have to do is push a button. I bought this one online. It is a 250 volt, but there is the wrong plug on the end. It's a good thing I just pulled something apart that has a 240 volt Australian plug on it. Alright, now this one also comes with an instruction manual on how to open up the nozzle, which is this front piece here. You unscrew it until it pops out and all your solder will all come out of there. Now there's no lights or anything on this, so you just kind of have to wait about 5 minutes for it to warm up. Suggest you put on your extraction fans too if you've got any. Or do it in a ventilated area. I haven't really been doing it just for the video so you guys can hear me, but usually I'd have this on to place it directly over the top. Once the solder's melted, push the button and that's pulled out all of the solder there. So let's do it again. All of it. Maybe a bit hard to see. There you go. You can see it right there. Completely took all the solder out. Now what I've realized, these switches are a little bit bent when they were put in, but otherwise that one would come out straight away. So let's move across to a different component. Something that I saw on this unit here, there's actually some really big bits of solder here, so I want to see if we can get those and what happens when we suck this up. It's all melting. It's slowly getting through that large chunk. And there you go. There you go, another big chunk sucked off there. Now to empty this out, I probably should be turning it off first. Alright, so you can see all the little bits here that it's sucked out. So I got quite a bit actually off this silver box first before having to empty that out. All we need to do is tip it out, and all of it should hopefully come out of there. We can put it back together and keep going. So the way I was able to tell that it was full too was because it had started to splatter a bit out there. But that's a nice easy way. I much prefer this one than doing any of the other ways. So in the order, I would go this unit first, then the blue plunger, desoldering itself via the soldering iron, and then the solder wick. So that's my choices there. Alright, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, watch these other videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.